Hello and welcome to the Stateside Soccer Show. My name is Jordan. With me, as always, is Logan. How are you today, Logan?
Oh, doing well. Yeah, exciting time in sports, to be honest. Got postseason baseball right around the corner. You and I were just talking about postseason baseball. Got the Dolphins playing really well. Ravens are playing well. So we got it.
Not
We got a
last
good
week.
stretch. Yeah, but good enough. So yeah, no, it's been fun to kind of watch a good football team, but also my team kind of being relevant again in baseball. So how about you? Everything good?
Yeah, I guess Orioles, but we did just lose the great Robinson. He passed away today. Um, Other than that, we got some good stuff to talk about today here on our soccer themed show. We talking maybe some teams that have clinched. We're going to talk about the Sounders having a new logo. We're going to talk Miami. Of course, we always got to talk Miami and Messi as they play in a cup final again tomorrow against Houston. So we will be previewing the Open Cup final preview as well as telling you where you can watch that. And then, looking ahead at what it'll take to clinch. I think there's only 3 Eastern, so it's getting to the nitty here is closer and closer. Where I think we're like a month away from decision day, pretty much. I think it's like late October. So we're getting there. we're we're getting there. It's getting a little scary. It is the year. It is the anniversary from 2018. Houston Dynamo beating the Philadelphia Union in the Open Cup. Houston Dynamo, of course, playing Open. Maybe if you are a Dynamo fan. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about. I think what we're going to dive into first, I think we're going to talk Seattle's Crest, right? This is kind of the sexy news of the day. We knew it was coming. They said 9:26 last week. I forget what time they said it was going to be, but it dropped afternoonish over here on the East Coast. Uh, I'll share it. It's been a very talk of the town type of thing so far. Now they did, of course, have fan in on the rebrand. This was not and this is for the 50th anniversary of the team, which is next year. Nearly like Columbus rebrand or Chicago rebrand or Houston rebrand when they're bad and they're just like, we gotta fix something. This is something that they took a lot of care in and kind of been working on this. I think the leader said 20 months. He was working on this. It's 2 years. And I don't even think the logo is like the best part of it. We're going to talk about some of the secondary logos and placing because like this looks really great. So let me go ahead and share what it is. We'll kind of discuss this. It's also on the YouTube video as well, like on the picture or thumbnail. I'd put the logo, but this is like their 3D version. I think it's going to look like on the actual jersey from what I've seen, some mock-ups of the jersey be and stuff. But so if you're not sure why they were looking to redo this, is see how in that top left the old logos right there on the website. But when it shrunk down like this, you cannot read it or really tell anything. That's why a lot of places are going to the minimalist approach here, where if you shrink this puppy down, you can kind of tell what this is still. And that's kind of the whole goal of it. But so we got that. They had 10,000 people complete surveys, 64,000 survey questions were answered, 400,000 words were written, 100 conversations, and 10 plus group working sessions. As we get to their name and colors, so they are Seattle Sounders FC, and their colors are eternal blue and forever green. So they have Rave Green. They've kind of changed the green a little bit, but it's still considered Rave Green. Heritage Aqua, which is replacing the white pretty much on the Seattle Sounders logo, and Pacific Blue. So they still keep all of their colors. They still have the Space Needle in the picture, in the crest, and they kind of got rid of the double crest. In the old logo, they had like this green, and then they had the weird blue crest, and then they had the ribbon that was white with the name of the club. And this is their logo history right here. So obviously, this was the first time that they kind of went with this green and in 2009. And that lasted their whole time in MLS, and that's why people were saying you have to be really careful, right, about this because it is one of the biggest brands in Major League Soccer. Um, Previous logos, right, have the 4 to 80 where it just says Seattle Sounders. Have a wave. You have a soccer ball with a wave for 83. Has the first appearance of the Space Needle there. And then 94 to 2002, they had the Orca with the wave. And then they kind of went back to the Space Needle in 09. Rumor, I guess they didn't expect the Sounders name to stick. I think they were trying to like rebrand then. And I don't know if they did a vote thing, but people were saying they were thinking it was going to be called like Alliance or Republic. Glad they stuck with the name Sounders. And then this one here, which is not actually going to have the name of the club, the Space Needle, and the year they were founded, 1974. I think that's a nice touch because there's rarely any soccer teams that are around in our country back to 74. So the fact that you can highlight, hey, we've been a club for so long here is a pretty big deal. And the reason I'm showing this is because a lot of this stuff here is going to come back around with the new logo. Here's your Rave Green, Pacific Blue, and Heritage Aqua key line right here. But now they have these alternate logos as well that can down and be pretty cool with just the white outline and then the reverse where you have a white inline and a blue or transparent background of the Space Needle. I think these look pretty good, and this will probably look great on. They show a picture later on the the Bruce Lee kit, and kind of what it looks like on there, and it looks really cool. I'm hoping page. All right, so this is their new word mark as well. This is what their new Seattle Sounders looks like. As you can see, if you're watching or if you're following along on your phone while you're listening, Logan, it looks a lot like the original logo, doesn't it?
Yeah, kind of looks like Finding Nemo too. A little bit Finding Nemo, Finding Dory. It's got kind of, but I like when they incorporate logos from the past. I love when, like, for instance, like if you look at old Crew logos, I like their old logos better. So if they ever go back to a logo that we all like, I think that looking at what the Sounders did, while I don't personally like the logo itself, I like the ideas in behind them. I don't know. I just felt it's underwhelming, but we can get into that. But yeah, I do like this. I like the breakdown of it, what it means, and especially, and we can get into that too. I love that they've shared the numbers in behind what went into this, because I think that speaks in and of itself that they actually did consider what the fans wanted.
I think I was at first underwhelmed, but I think the more I'm seeing it, the more I like it. I really
That
like
Yeah,
it with the white
yeah,
like this. I think
yeah.
this looks really great. Their monogram is FSC for Sounders Football Club. All right, so this is one of their secondary logos here. It's the Orca making his return here. When we asked our fans what best represented our club, the Orca received the second most responses, only the Space Needle. which is pretty rad. This is something that when I visited Seattle in 2014 on my road trip, the club was only point in MLS. I went into a McDonald's, Logan, and when I went into a McDonald's, they had all of the random Seattle Sounders old merch. I'll have to see if I can find the photos of it again and maybe share our Instagram or stuff. But it had like the Orca, the old logo, some old kits, an old soccer ball. They had on this McDonald's in 2014, and that was really the first time I noticed that this was like their old logo and stuff. You know, I always like looking at old logos like this, but I'm glad that the Orca's coming back. I want them to somehow work this into a kit, kind of like how sometimes you'll get something on the very back of the collar, you know, like underneath the collar on the back, right above the last name of the player. You could put a little stamp of the Orca on there. I think that would look really cool.
Is there anything on there that it's going to like any of the proceeds or anything like that, like to kind of like there's nothing in there about ocean life?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. I just didn't know if like, some of the and I think it'll come if they do a kit, honestly, with that logo.
Yeah,
So,
probably.
but I could see like it would be cool if they like anything with that logo, 10% of the proceeds go to, Orca Life or whatever it might be.
And this is one that I did not know about, but and even some fans I think didn't know about this when I was checking on stuff online. But it says since our NASL era, Sounders players have handed out to fans at the final home match of the year. Our many cherished traditions, but the carnation stands in a class of its own as a symbol of the connection between our players and fans. So this is also stuff that you can find on merchandise now that they've released, and I also look really good on like the back collar or on a bottom of a sleeve or something. You know, the carnation with the year like this, I think that would look really neat. And of course, 74 year. All right, so we're gonna explore the retail because I think some of this stuff looks really great, and it's kind of what sold me more on the logo as we go. Like I really like this hoodie with the logo on it. Um, this jacket. I saw Brian Smetzer wearing this on top of the Space Needle today. They were sharing that. Um, there's a shirt with the carnation on it. I think that looks really cool. This guy has a tattoo as well with the Space Needle. So he either is a Seattle fan or he's a fan of Frasier, which is notorious for having the Space Needle as well. Titch inspired player tee. I like this a lot too. This is a Mitchell and Ness tee that pays homage to the Sounders that came before us, which has newer retro logo. The word mark with Seattle Sounders, and you have the crest and then some numbers. On there, they have the Uka as a shirt. This looks pretty rad, by the way. I wish I could pull off a crop shirt like.
I almost want to buy you that just so you have to wear it.
Wear it on the show too.
Yeah, exactly. We
They
would
have
need a full you standing, like at a desk or something. I would pay to see you in that.
They have a Water's Edge navy crew neck, which looks real dope, almost hockey-esque. I'm not a fan of this black shirt here.
That's so hard to see. Why do they do that?
I don't know.
It looks like it's
shiny.
Like misprinted. I have a shirt.
Silicone.
So I have a shirt, Jordan, that's I think I've worn it on the show. It's black, but it has a black, like a little bit lighter black logo on it. And it's so hard to see. And I don't get why they make shirts like that.
This is the winner, by the way. This Seattle Sounders Orca shirt, by the way.
I do like that.
That's a winner.
Yeah.
I have to find a way to get that shirt type of.
It looks, I don't know why, but it looks hockey. It looks like the San Jose. They're gonna hate this. It looks like San Jose Sharks.
San Jose Sharks.
Yeah.
I just love how like aggressive the Orca is, and he's ready to play. I mean, he's got the ball. He's ready.
They call them killers.
Yeah.
Top of the food chain, baby.
See, this is also where the logo looks really good on a scarf.
Yeah.
This looks
It's that white
very
logo.
simple and
Hmm.
intricate, like not intricate, very easy to put on a scarf. Also, the orca scarf is great too. And of course, they have the orca dad hat and a word mark dad hat as well through New Era. I mean, look at this merch. They're going to be swimming in money. I think they're going to be swimming in money with this stuff.
It's cute. It's adorable.
There's like barely any. Look, this is what I think. This reminds me, Logan, of a football or baseball team
Yeah.
in the fact that, like, an identity like this where you
Hmm.
can have multiple logos. Like the Orioles have so many different bird
Yeah.
logos I can find. Like, and the fact that they're putting this stuff back out there again, I think is really good because how many times I buy a shirt or different with the same Sounders logo on it, right? But this time you can be like, I'm going to get one with the Orca. I'm going to
Hmm.
get one with the Carnation. I'm going to get one with the New Shield. You know, like you have, I can get one with just the word. Like now that you can buy things four different ways. So I don't know. I think it makes me wish that like when I go to a Union game and I look at the Union stuff, it's just a Union. That's it. Like there's like nothing this at the shop where I'd be like, oh, that's a cool secondary thing that I need. Like they don't really have that.
Hmm.
And part of that comes with the history, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's also probably some ways that they could have. Some of these other teams could probably somehow make this work where they can have this type of stuff. I don't know. I think this might become a new thing when we talk about secondary logos and tertiary being used more. Not a lot of clubs have this, I don't think. And the fact
Yeah.
that they actually like had input from their fans and it wasn't like a disaster like
Mhm.
Columbus, right? From what I've seen online from Seattle fans, I went to their message boards, I went to their Reddit, stuff like that. Mostly positive. There were some that were negative on it because they don't like minimalist stuff, and there was also some that like underwhelmed or like okay. But I'll tell you what most people think, by the way, is all of these secondary and tertiary logos.
I really enjoy them. Like I think, like you said, though, I think you need a long enough history to to go back on because obviously you don't want that logo they just switched from to be on any of the merchandise because that's that rebrand. But I mean, as time goes on, those almost in a way get archived, right? Like Disney does the same thing now. They pull from eras. Like you've got companies that pull from eras, and you see it more in sports because that's a big thing. They're always wearing the retro jerseys. It's so cool when they're able to kind of pull from it. Like Kansas or Sporting Kansas City when they were the Wizards. That is such a cool idea, and that logo is so fun that I think you pull from that. And while it is still nostalgic, it's old enough to where it's not like it's really hurting the brand. Now it's adding back into the branding of it, and they're all trademarked. Like they're all trademarked by the team, so you're not losing any kind of trademark anyway. You're not losing it to a public domain. Like it's your logo. It still is trademarked under their entity. So it's not like, somebody else could use it or, it gets away from you. And I do. I think Jordan, as we get further into it, all the teams will do this, right? It's only a matter of time. If you look back through the history of sports, every single sports team, if the league is older than like 50 years old, have gone through some kind of rebrand or a secondary, third, fourth, not a primary logo. You can have your primary, but I think having like a secondary, having the words, I think that those you can do so many unique things that you can get away with because you could be like, the Philadelphia Union could shape their wording into a way that is cool and it's got a great graphic, but it's not getting away from their brand per se. So yeah, no, I'm all with you on that one. I think, gosh, like I'm not personally a fan of the green one. Now that white one that you showed, I like that
Mm-hmm.
one a lot. Like I really do like that one. I think it looks great on like a dark blue. It looks great on the black. I think that looks good. I'm just not a fan of the green and behind the needle. But again, it's good that they got the fans' opinions because Jordan, you and I have done this many, many times, right? Where we've unveiled a new logo and everybody
Look,
hates
we've been
it.
only a show for 3
Right.
years, and I don't know how many
Let's count
rebrands
them.
we have already
Montreal
seen.
twice, right? Yeah,
Yep.
Montreal twice. The Dynamo, and then the Dynamo even went into like a color change, so that's like 3.5. They had the
The
Columbus Crew,
Crew.
yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to think if there's anybody
Chicago.
else. Chicago, yep. I feel like we're missing one. Maybe we're not. Okay, no, I guess not. But
Uh,
why do I feel like we're missing one?
it's pretty I mean,
The Quakes. No.
no, they, it's one for a bit now. But still, that is a lot, man.
Yeah.
Again, we're talking about 3 years.
Yeah.
So this is what else I wanted to show, by the way. I've been looking that whole time I was looking for this. I just had to keep scrolling down more. Here it is on some of the so like I think it looks good on the shirt, the jersey. And then when you see what it looks like on the Bruce Lee kit, I like that. Like you couldn't do that with the old logo because they kind of just I think they just had their other logo on there or they still inverted it but it looked more complex. Like when you can get rid of the thing is now they're a club, one of the few in now that can have their crest with team name and people know what it is, right? Because of the Space Needle, right? Like there's not many that could get away with this. There's like maybe Philly if they went with like a Liberty Bell. There's New York if they went with something like the Empire State Building, like we've seen
Statue of
other
Liberty.
sports teams do, Statue of Liberty.
Mm.
Like what? I feel like two of those show up in WNBA.
Yeah, Gotham
So
uses them. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, NWSL has one of them too, I think. So look, they don't even have to put their name on it. Like that's how legit this is, and this is what I think they were kind of going for. Is like, is there a way we can make it more easier to read on like an app or a website that we have to shrink this thing down? Can we do different color combinations with it now? And can it also stand out and still be recognizable as the Sounders? That's what I was worried when I first heard they were rebranding, right? Because we, like you said, we've been through this before, but it was like, okay, are they gonna somehow mess us up to where they're not even recognizable? And I think they've kept it enough recognizable. They have the green, they have the blue, they have the, and it's the same shape of the original crest, right? Like mostly. Um, that top part of the crest is still the same shape as the green part of the crest on the older logo, the current logo. Also, I'm going to say I'm a big fan of this because circle. I mean, how many of these have we gotten that have just been we made it a circle, that's it. They kept a unique shape. They're not like, I'm trying to think of like most of them have circles or a generic shape. This keeps the original Sounders-esque shape, and I think that helps make it like for sure that you're looking at a Sounders logo. They did change the green a bit, and I think that's probably what might be throwing you off too. And the fact that there is no
Yeah.
like white in between the blue
Mhm.
for the Space Needle, I think that might be throwing some people off too. Um,
That's what it is. It's that it's just so they're so green. And it's different green, like you said, but it is so green where like not even a little accent of white. Like it's blue and green. I think that's
right,
what's
right.
kinda like throwing me.
And then they
But
have the aqua now around
yeah,
it.
I love aqua. Aqua, especially when you throw orange with it, great colors. Wrong sport. But Jordan, like you said, the most important thing that I think they hit here is while I don't like it, I think a lot of people will. Like I think at least 90% of people that are what I've seen like it, 95. Like it's really big number that likes this, and I'm glad the fans are represented because same my team. So I while I can look at this objectively, I don't care. Like I care, but I don't. I'm not the one having to wear the badge all the time. So again, I love that they did that. I love what you said. They didn't go with the circle. They stayed with that shield. It looks very traditional. It looks. This is the biggest brand. Sorry, LAFC. This is the biggest brand that still exists. Like when people think MLS, they still think the Sounders. Like that's still a thing. Like 90 to 95% of people, I think, if you said MLS right now, would still think Sounders. Do I think that's changing? Possibly. Whatever Messi does in Miami, we could see that change. LAFC, like they're becoming a staple. But when I think MLS, that's the very first club I think of because they were so good for so long. And they're that model, right? They're that model that every team wants. Good fan base, great colors. They've had really good ownership at times where they've made really good decisions. They don't seem to have strayed from what their values are. We're across
You've
the
got
way.
what, like 6 trophies
Yeah.
since entering MLS?
Right. Yeah.
Less than
Good.
15 years, right?
Right. Yeah. Brian Schmetzer, they've got, they had Jordan Morris, they had Dempsey. They've got guys that just ball. And I think that's ultimately what made everybody just fall in love with them. They felt like the heartbeat of MLS for so long. I'm glad that they did the service of really taking in their fans' voice. So teams don't do that, Jordan. Right? Big brands don't do that. They don't really give a crap.
Yeah.
Look at Premier League. There's a reason why those big clubs don't give a flying rip about what the club and their fans think. So
Okay, actually, they've got eight trophies.
that's
They
insane.
have 2 MLS Cups, a Supporter Shield, 4 Open Cups, and a Champions Cup, Champions League.
They've been disappointing.
That's not including conference titles from regular season and playoffs. But yeah,
and they've been disappointing last couple of years, and I think that's ultimately just the success that they've had. Right? Like they're not a bad team right now. They're currently sitting third, but you're not thinking of them.
I know. I saw somebody.
What I mean?
As I was pulling this up, Logan, on the Twitter, I saw somebody say, "All right, now change the man and the whole team." I'm like, what?
No. Like you're not going to find better than Brian Schmetzer, and I think that's the same thing they figured in SKC. Like you're not going to find better than Peter Vermees, not in this market. The U.S. tried, right? If the U.S. men's national team can't recruit some of these talents, then there's no reason that they want to come to your club. Like, I'm sorry, but I mean I think the top free agent right now that would and could sign somewhere is people are going to say Bruce Arena. Well, no, I don't think Bruce. I think they'll let him cool off, and Bruce might be done. I would say Robin Fraser. That'd be number one on the list, and he's not like, he's not somebody you offer the deck for. Like, I don't know.
You know what's interesting? I'm just noticing this, by the way. There is how many teams in the West have a circular logo? Do you know?
Circular I'm not even looking. Let me guess. Circular. Wow, not many. Gosh, I feel like they're all in the East. Like I can think of a bunch of Eastern Conference ones.
I didn't realize this, but there's one, just Portland. Everyone else has like a normal crest or a different shape crest, while in the East we have Philly, Atlanta, New England, Montreal, NYCFC, Chicago, Charlotte, Miami. 8 of the 15 teams, that's more than half, have circular crests. So maybe I shouldn't have been worried about a circular crest then, because it seems like that's not the norm in the Western Conference.
There's a very pointy in the West too. Like
I like
Rapids,
it. They're all different.
Galaxy.
Vancouver's is different. Ones. RSL Houston's got like 7, 8 sides, right?
Yeah, the Rapids have a pointy one. I like the Rapids logo.
Both LAs have shields. St. Louis has the little arch shield. I mean, they got a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. I really like Dallas's logo. I don't know why, but I do. I've always liked it.
I like SKC's. I think their crest is like the perfect shape.
Yeah. Okay. Here's a fun game. Who's got the best logo in all of sport? Or sorry, all of them.
In all of sports. All right.
All of sports.
Orioles. Sorry.
The Cub with the little bear on it's pretty cute. But yeah, who's got the best? You can't pick your own team. Who's got the best logo?
Can't pick the Union.
No, you can't pick the Union.
I don't think the Union's is the best anyway.
No,
I think
a good logo, but it's not great.
I do like it. I like that they went with the snake and not like a Liberty Bell or something. But I don't like Cincy's. It's a little too
Yeah,
boxy.
I've got mine. I've already picked mine.
Okay. Go first then. I'm gonna keep thinking.
Okay. I like Nashville's. I really do. I think it incorporates a nice touch of what the city is. It's got like the music sound bar, like the sound waves. I've always liked that yellow. I think it's unique in the way that it looks. It doesn't really have like you don't really see. I think it's what is that hexagonal, octagonal? Looks yeah, octagonal. It's got a nice shape to it. And I love the yellow. I think it pops. But yeah, no, I've always loved Nashville's. I don't know what it is about Nashville's logo, but I've always loved it.
Oh boy, this is tough.
I mean, I feel like a lot of like every single one of the circle logos that you named, I don't like. So I don't know. Like I never would have, picked them. I think it's got to come from the West. SKC is a really good one.
I think for me it's somewhere between SKC, Portland, and the current Seattle one. I mean, I do really like that. It's one of the things that got me kind of into MLS. I started watching more MLS around 2008, 2009, right when
Mhm.
Seattle entered. Uh, yes, we have a comment here saying I'm still irked at my Columbus C logo. That would have been another circle, by the
Yeah.
way, if they didn't change to the pennant flag that they have. That would have been 9 out of 15 teams if they kept with their circular crest. Or if you want to go, that's the one a lot of people like too. If you want to go further back to the men at work, construction worker
Yeah.
one, that's not a circle. But I think if I'm looking at it, I think Portland's is really cool because it has the axe, right? Um, I think Seattle's is nice and unique, and I thought SKC's just looks really clean. I think so. I think if I'm going my favorite MLS crest that's not the Union, I really like those three. I do not like Houston's at all right now. They could use another rebrand, honestly. But right now they're playing well, so they won't.
Yeah.
I have to wait for them to suck again.
Yeah. You know who's due
Um,
for a new logo? Toronto. Definitely due for a new logo. And I don't even like their
I
logo.
like theirs. I like
Theirs
theirs.
just very space needly
They'll
because they
they'll
have
be
that
too
like tower.
circular if they rebrand. I do want to shout out. I like DC's a lot too. Now this is a rebrand at DC where they made the eagle a little bigger than the actual crest, but I think the DC crest, with how its history has been and stuff, is very very good. Um,
I think
Man, but yeah,
St.
they,
Louis went too hard at their logo. Like they
I
thought too
do
much
like
about
it,
it.
but yeah, it's a little too much. I
Yeah,
think
they
it's a little
thought
too
too
much.
much about it. Like it just needed to be the arch.
I'm not a fan of the colors, honestly.
Yeah, I can't help but think about Purina now every time I think of them.
Yeah, me too. I was gonna say the Purina colors, but
Yeah.
it makes me like when I look at these, right? Like I can't discount the color. So what I mean by that, if I look at one and it doesn't speak to me like color wise, I'm like, it can't be my favorite.
Mhm.
Um, like I don't really like Colorados. I don't really like their colors. I like their shape, but I don't really like the colors. I I like Minnesota's because it's not like a traditional crest, and I like the loon, but it has too much gray for me to make it like a favorite. Right? If it had more of the light blue with the black, I think it might be a little higher on my list. And green and blue are two of my favorite colors. That's why Seattle was always a draw for me anyway.
Mhm.
And then Portland having the green, and then I just really like the historical significance of the clubs as
Yeah,
well. LAFC I like too. I like the way that the A is with like the
the
wing, and
angel. Yeah,
yeah, I do like theirs a lot. When I look at the East, I do like Chicago's. That was a good rebrand. Good rebrand compared to what it was with the weird crown logo they had. Red Bulls is just the Red Bulls. I don't like that at all. Um, I mean, yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Looking at some of these,
you
I,
were
I
right
can't
though.
I can't stand Columbus's either.
Yeah,
So I agree with you.
DC's is good. I really do like their logo. Um, I'd say out of the circular ones out of the Eastern Conference, I think my favorite one is probably I want to say Atlanta's, just because I know the five stripes are there. So
Oh, the
it's
circular.
yeah, I do like
They
Atlanta's
nailed it.
circular one.
They did.
Yeah,
They were kind of the first start of the brand new
yeah.
wave of circular logos. I mean, like the Union, obviously 2010.
Hmm.
At that point, I think they may have been one of the only circular logos because Portland came in 2011.
Yeah.
Columbus hadn't changed to the circle yet. New England had the crayon flag. Atlanta wasn't around. Montreal had a shield that said Impact. There was no NYCFC. Chicago was not a circle then. It was the like firefighter logo. Charlotte wasn't around. Miami wasn't around. But I think the Wizards were the Wizards still, and at that point they were circle. So yeah, but the Union kind of kicked off the more modern circle
Hmm.
crests, and then there was a big gap before some of the other teams started doing it again. But
Can we all agree the worst logo of them all is Montreal or Houston's?
I
Like,
like Montreal's new one. I couldn't
you
stand
really
the
the
snowflake
snowflake?
one.
Oh, that's right. It's not the snowflake.
No.
Sorry,
Now
FB
they
ref.
went back to the
That's
fleur de
right.
lis.
FB ref has it still as the
Oh,
logo.
okay.
Yeah, that's why I'm
Now, the
looking at
worst
FB refs
is
right now.
Columbus, Cincy, Toronto, Houston,
Yeah,
Colorado. That's where
yeah.
I would go.
A lot of these could use a refresh. A lot of
Yeah,
them.
really, I liked Cincy's old logo before they joined MLS. If you don't know what that is, everyone look it up. Maybe I can pull it up here real quick. But
I love how this has been a 35-minute chat about logos and rebranding. Although, I mean, we might as well get it out of the way. We're going to talk about one at least this coming summer, I think, because I think there'll be a club that'll.
You think another one's gonna
I
do
think
it?
so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. You know what? I could honestly see like Inter Miami going with another
This is the
type of
old
logo.
FC Cincy one.
Yeah, that one's solid. Yeah, that's fun.
I like it better than this like weird
Yeah.
pentagon or whatever they got.
I'm not gonna lie to you though. That one looks like the clip art.
Yeah, well, the
I like
top
the
is supposed to
idea
be a
of it.
soccer ball and also a
Oh,
crown. See
okay.
how it's
I
like the
see. Yeah.
orange panels,
It's really hard to see until you point that out. Like
and then
I
you
was
have
not.
the regular
Yeah.
crest. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that looks good.
I
You
thought
could
they
make
would
it a little
enter the
fancier.
league wearing that, but no.
That would be funny. Yeah.
But yeah, let us know if you're watching. Let us know your favorite crests. Is it your team's crest, or is it another team's crest that is your favorite? And yeah, I guess we'll be able to. You know why else it feels like we have a lot of rebrands, because we've also covered a lot of expansion teams. So we've talked about the St. Louis crest, the Austin crest, the geez, I feel like we're probably missing another one there that I just.
Plus,
Charlotte.
plus with our kit like grading thing that we did, that I thought was a lot of fun. We did talk a lot about like what went into them, because I know you described each of them, and it described like you were describing like what pieces went into each of the kits. So I think that ultimately too feels like a lot. But another thing too, the reason why I was thinking about a rebrand, the culture rebrand that happened at RSL, that's what I was thinking about, because that was a big thing when I first started covering the league. Was RSL was going through all of that with their ownership, and it was an awful ownership, and the GM was he was the GM that was a slug. It was brutal. That's why I keep thinking it, because it was this huge. It was more wording. It wasn't their brand. It was more of their wording and how they talked about the brand.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and look at the standings before we preview the Open Cup. We had some teams clinch this weekend, and we are up to 6 teams clinched in the East. We have Cincinnati with 62 points. They're clinched. They're about to clinch the Supporter Shield, really. I mean, the second best team in the league right now is St. Louis with 53 points. That's 9-point difference. There's only 4 games left, right? So if they just win like one more, they're pretty much set. Almost like win one more, draw one more, right? 4 more points, maybe. I couldn't find any clinching scenarios on some of this stuff. Orlando is in second with 51 points right now. They've clinched a playoff spot. Columbus have clinched a playoff spot. They're in third. Philly has clinched a playoff spot, who's in fourth. Philly has only played 29 games. Atlanta's played 31. They've clinched a playoff spot. They're back in the playoffs now. New England is 6. They may not have a new manager yet, but they are clinched and in the playoffs. And right below them right now, teams battling it out, Nashville, Montreal, and NYCFC, who've climbed into the top 9 now. And Nashville is probably able to clinch, I would say, in the coming week or so. Montreal and NYCFC, big gap from 7th to 8th here, 44 points to 37. So some of these teams are probably not going to clinch until decision day, even though we already have 6 and only 3 more spots. When you look at, we're probably going to come down to those final 2 spots, which are the wild card spots. As we have right below them with 36 points, DC, who's been fighting all season at that 9 and 10 spot, trying to get into a playoff spot. New York Red Bull, Chicago, Charlotte, Miami, and eliminated is Toronto, right? We can finally eliminate them. But we do have from 14th to 9th with only a 5-point gap, with teams ranging from 5 to 3 games left, 3 to 5 games left. So a team like DC and NYCFC have already played 31. Teams like Montreal, Red Bulls, and Chicago have only played 30. Charlotte and Miami have only played 29. Miami lost some ground on what they kind of got helped out a little bit by Red Bull beating DC, right? But Miami ended up drawing with Orlando, which is not worse than a loss, right? A loss would have really hurt them. But if they want to get in, and most of this is without Messi, right? He got subbed out due to injury in the midweek match, right? And then he did not play on the weekend. They got to start trying to make that push if he's healthy. If Messi and some of those other players are not able to go, then I think they will fall short. It really comes down to if Messi, Alba, and Busquets, if they're all healthy and they're all contributing, I think they got a shot. But this is where we are on the East right now. And the most interesting spots, of course, are 8 to 14, which again is only a 5-point difference.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. They need the 3 of them, even 2. I do think that they could even do this without Messi for the time being. I think they're good enough with the other 2 to really compete. I think with Messi, they become pretty favored to try to make a run at the play. But like you said, with 5 games left, the room and margin for error is minimal at best. Like it feels like if they lose now, then it's over. So I do feel that. I know mathematically they could still get back into it, but I really do. I feel like a loss, not getting 3 points could really just do them in. So yeah, no, I agree with you, and I think you're seeing obviously Messi come over from time spent obviously with his club where he was previously at PSG, and then having to go into World Cup, and then having to train for what I think many thought was going to be a return back to one of the European clubs, ends up coming to MLS. The guy's not had a break really. And at that age, like I really do find it hard for him to stay healthy. And it's the same thing with Busquets. It seems like it's soft tissue, which is never good in a sport where you're running around. So the magic, I think the Messi magic will be there next year, but I think it's run out this year. Like I don't think you're going to get a whole lot of magic out of him.
Logan just lost his camera there. But yeah, no, I agree with you, Logan. I agree with you, Logan. It might be a little bit too much of the team was so bad before they joined and left them too big of a hole. Plus the injuries. But the Messi magic can continue right now, tomorrow, with the Open Cup final that they will be playing in. He is supposed to be on the bench. But before we get to that, let's look at the Western Conference, which, as you can see if you're following along with us, there's only one clinched team in the Western Conference compared to the 6 in the East. The East has been the much stronger league, right? Like Nashville has 47 points in the East, and that is near the bottom of the playoff teams. The second best team in the uh, in the West is LAFC with only 45 points. That's how big of a difference we're talking about. This is usually, if you look back at the last few years, we're usually talking about the East this way, and the West is usually the team that is the league that has a lot more teams clinched or has, you know, more points. I mean, really, no, Nashville is 44. Sorry. So LAFC and Seattle are just above 1 point of what the seventh best team in the East is. That's how different this season is. But St. Louis is the only team clinched right now with 53 points. And Logan, actually, the St. Louis City are able to break a record for expansion clubs later this season. They have already most wins by an expansion club in the inaugural season of 16 wins. They have already tied that. They just need to win one more game in their last 3 to set an inaugural season record for an expansion team. Something we never thought was going to happen with this club. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, right? There's an excited fan base in behind the team. They start out with a great game against Austin in St. Louis. Probably the most electric crowd I've ever seen in MLS. Stood the whole time, never sat down. And then Jordan, you and I talked to the guys from ball watching, and we thought, if this team's going to be successful, what is one thing that you think this team is going to be built around? And it really did center around that defense and right down the spine, right? They felt like they had a good midfield to kind of defend. I think Lovin, again, in the midfield, they thought he could be a really nice piece. I know Klaus they thought was going to be really nice. Jordan, I think the biggest surprise has been Giacchini. Not a lot of people, Orlando, we'd written him off because he never found his way into Oscar's club. But again, so much in soccer is about just finding that system that works for you, right? That player that works into the system. And I think it's worked out well. 10 goals, right? He's got 1 assist in a forward position that they need goals. And when Klaus has been hurt this year, which he's been quite a bit, Giacchini's been able to step up and provide those goals when needed. Aiden Niren, I think is how do you say it? He's provided goals, 7 goals. They've gotten 4 goals from Tim Parker, became a goal-scoring threat as he's gone to St. Louis. But Jordan, everything about him, they've gotten a great, great team underneath what I think is probably one of the most successful franchises now, period. It doesn't matter if they're expansion clubs or not. Then you throw in Roman Berkey, a guy that is an unbelievable goalkeeper. So, yeah, no, I've been really impressed with them, and I think they're only going to get better, which is scary, right? Especially for the West. So I think they had a couple more pieces as depth this coming off season, and I think they make a pretty good run. I wouldn't want to play in St. Louis, and that's where all those teams are going to be playing because I think they are on the doorstep, getting ready to clinch home field advantage. I think they just need a couple points, and then that's that. So.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy how well they've been playing this year. I never really saw it coming. I don't think most people did, right? If we looked at most preseason predictions, St. Louis is probably near the bottom. But yeah, they've been really good, even away from home, right? 6 wins, 7 losses, 3 draws. At home, 10 wins, only 3 losses and 2 draws. So they've been pretty good on both home and away. LAFC has a worse home and away record, obviously, because they're lower down. They've got a game in hand though, so they can push that to a 5-point difference between LAFC and St. Louis. If they win their game in hand, they would be at 48 points. Seattle's in third with 45, and then Houston, who's been a surprise team, they're going to take on Miami in the Open Cup. And that'll put them at they're in 4th right now. They've had a really good season. We had Jose Nunez just said, hard to imagine a fall from grace as bad as Austin's. No way St. Louis goes through that, right? I would say most likely not, because I think they're going to have more consistent sporting director coach relations. What I think most people kind of forget with Austin, and we brought it up last week or so, was the loss of Claudio Reyna in the offseason, where I'm not really sure who they had running what, right? And then now they've brought in somebody near the end of the season. I don't know how much he was able to kind of get started, right? Before the end of the transfer window. But I would also think that if this keeps it up for Austin, you probably next year at some point do have to say goodbye to Josh Wolf. And all of the Austin fans from their first season who were Wolf out will finally get their way. Yeah, I mean, fall from grace is a way to put it, right? They were second. They were second in the West last year, I think. Brutal. They fell really hard. But like I was saying with Houston so far in a really good spot. RSL's in 5th, Portland in 6th with 42 points. Remember, they fired their manager in the middle of the season recently as well. Now they're all the way up to 6th place. At one point, Portland was near the bottom of the West when of Savarese. They're all the way up to 6th. Vancouver in 7th, San Jose in 8th, Dallas in 9th. And actually, all the way down to LA Galaxy are, just like we were talking about last week with LA Galaxy, they do have a chance. They're only 5 points back. They have 5 games to go. So they need to get some wins, no losses pretty much, to get themselves in a playoff spot. Dallas hasn't been playing well. They've been awful on the road this season. Only 3 wins. And you have SKC, who are at one point were the worst team in the league. They're all the way up to 10th, only 1 point behind Dallas, but they've played 2 more games than Dallas. So pretty fickle thing. Yes, Jose. Yeah, Rodolfo Borrell, the city coach, is now at Austin as their GM. That's always the question, right? When it comes to the intricacies of the league. That's why I kind of thought St. Louis may struggle, right? Because they hired somebody that was outside of the league system as well. But they were an expansion team, and they were able to kind of ramp up, and he was able to familiarize himself with all the rules. There's a lot of people that are not that way, right? That he had to come in mid-season now and start trying to put together a roster. We'll see if he understands it or not. And then you have the only one team in the West as well who is eliminated, and that's Colorado. So only 2 teams so far, Logan, with a month to go, have been eliminated. That's Toronto and Colorado.
Yeah, I think they were eliminated a long time ago. It's just mathematically they weren't. Yeah, no, but all interesting points. I think Rodolfo Borrell, having been a City fan, I can tell you pretty much with fact that people don't really know who Pep's assistants are until they go on to their next job and then find out quickly. He knows football. I think, with the talent that is on a City roster, with working with some of the academy players, he had a hand in that. And a lot of those times, those assistants are doing a lot of the scout. It's just, I think, as he starts to work his way into MLS and starts to begin to understand what Austin needs, first of all, fixing that defense that was just so pampered with injuries. And we talked about that, injuries, players leaving. I mean, that Austin defense, I think that first or second week had three of the 4 in the back 4. I think they had lost that. So again, I think ultimately Austin rebound, but not quickly enough. Just because I think they're in a different kind of situation in the direction that they want to head in. And then again, I think culturally, they couldn't have been great. I mean, we've seen what Claudio Reyna did. I don't know. Like, there's got to be some players maybe that are feeling like, Claudio's gone. So, that we had built a nice system here. That new step, or that new coach is going to step in, right? And I think that's ultimately going to be something that obviously is it's a job with a lot of pressure, but I think it's going to be also a job that they're going to have to search to replace Josh Wolf if they do end up getting rid of him. So again, I don't know as far as what Austin holds. I don't see St. Louis falling down that much. Like Jordan said, I think the consistency is there. And a lot of times I will say for some reason, and maybe it's a benefit to some of these mid-level clubs as far as the market's concerned, teams that don't spend a whole lot tend to not fall apart as quickly, just because it seems like when a big ship is sinking, it sinks faster. And I feel like that's the way that kind of Austin, LA Galaxy, like you're looking at those big clubs, those are the ones that just go boom when they do fall. The Revs, or sorry, not the Revs. Well, maybe the Revs.
A little bit of
the
Revs.
Red Bulls, NYCFC,
Mhm.
the big ships, spending a lot of players on, spending a lot of money on players. Sorry.
Yeah, I never thought NYCFC would fall as fast as they did.
No,
Jose,
there they all are.
Jose just made a joke about Juan Manuel Lilo
Yeah.
to Charlotte. That's another Manchester City assistant.
Yeah.
That'd be funny because that, you know what,
Pep's
Charlotte
coming to the MLS. I think he's going to coach the Crew.
Yeah,
Kidding.
Charlotte's
I'm
the
joking.
team that is. I could kind of see him doing something like that because they're a team that had a kind of a fall from grace. They were in the playoff hunt last year. They still kind of are, right? But they're not. I mean, they're not really. I guess if we say Miami is, but Charlotte is, but Miami is more of a peace of mind with the Messi, Alba, Busquets stuff than looking at Charlotte's roster. But Charlotte had a pretty strong finish to the season last year, and they haven't really done anything since. So that's the West now. So I don't know if anybody else can clinch. Maybe LAFC could if they win, because there would be 3 games left for them. And if a team like SKC loses, that'd put them 10 points behind with 3 games to go. Actually, SKC would only have 2 games to go. Yeah, I think LAFC might be able to clinch. I just haven't been able to find any. You know how usually, like, I've been able to find like the clinching scenarios. I haven't seen that. I don't know if it's too early in the week or something, but they haven't put it up. Yeah, Charlotte is the team that shoots themselves in the foot every time to have an opportunity. Yeah, they've only been around 2 years, and I kind of forget about Charlotte as a whole, unfortunately for the Charlotte fans. They've just been so irrelevant, right? Like they don't really do much, unfortunately. I am reminded them daily though, because I still have the "We Are Fuchs" magnets on my fridge. But yeah, once they lost Christian Fuchs, they kind of become a little bit more irrelevant too. They don't have any big stars. They're not playing well typically. Oh boy. Okay. Well, there you go. The East is coming along here. Let's take a look at what we have coming up this week. Tomorrow, we have the Open Cup final. That is on CBS Sport and Telemundo. You can also stream Paramount Plus, or if you want to stream it in Spanish, you can stream it on Peacock. And that is tomorrow, Wednesday, September 27th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It is going to be at Drive Pink Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. It's not all about Messi. It's not all about Messi, right? Because they got this far without him. They only played 1 Open Cup match with Messi. So there you go, right? That's can Houston kind of survive if Messi steps on the field? From what we've heard, Messi is and Alba kind of questionable because they were both injury substitutes in the game on Wednesday, and that maybe Messi would not be able to start, but might be able to play on the bench. But anyway, I think they can still get this done without them, really. This is a one-off game. Campagna has been playing well, right? They locked him up. They have other options if they want to win a trophy again. But I'll ask you, Logan, do you see them doing it, or do you see Houston, who's been pretty darn good? I've been rallying the group around Houston this year. I've been kind of on their side the whole season long with Ben Olsen, and he's revived the game. You got this. Remember, it's at Miami. We don't know the question about the big stars, but it's only so much we can speculate, I guess. But if you had to pick one right now, going into tomorrow, who do you got?
I mean, based off of the information that we have, that we know about Messi, his, I guess, game against Orlando, and then the Tata discussion after the game, it doesn't sound like Messi's really close to playing. And I know there's been things that said, Messi could go through training. He's fine. He's walking around the facilities like he's there. He's at practice, but it's like it doesn't feel good because they're not going to want to burn him out and Busquets all in 1 year just for what could be a playoff run. I think if they had more points, Jordan, if they were closer, he'd be playing. But I just get this weird feeling that it's been decided that they weren't going to push it. If they get into the playoffs, then fine. If they need him for the last 2 games, then fine. But I think soft tissue, man, you don't mess with that stuff because that can turn into lingering issues, can turn into a bigger problem where you might be favoring something and land on a knee wrong, maybe lose an ankle or an Achilles. So again, I think there's a lot of moving pieces. Jordan, I love that you have been on the Houston hype train just because I remember asking you what this was like. And I remember in our preview that I said that I just don't feel like it's enough Ben Olsen who. And you were like, no, Ben Olsen, yes. I do feel like I got schooled in that sense. I do feel like you had a really good handle on it. And you said, and I remember this, and even in offline conversations, you were like, if Ben Olsen does what Ben Olsen does, this team could be middle of the pack Western Conference and compete in the playoffs. And here they sit in a playoff race, playing in the U.S. Open Cup in a deep run. And I think they might do it, Jordan. I think they might pull it off. I think they might bounce Miami out. So, yeah, no, I'm feeling great about Houston's chances. I think they're figuring out. Amin Basse is playing well. So, yeah, I'm excited. I hope Houston does rattle one out. Just because I want a good storyline. I'm always rooting for the better story, and that's where the better story is right now.
Who can go against Miami? Ben Olsen can. I'm going with the Houston Dynamo as well. I'm going to predict this here.
So naturally, Miami
will win.
Yeah, that's how we do it on this show.
But look, it feels like fate. They just won this thing 5 years ago on this day. They play a final tomorrow. They're the notorious underdogs, even though they're higher in the table. People look at them as the underdogs because you've kind of shifted this whole concept of MLS since Messi. But we don't even know if Busquets is playing. They said they haven't even said if he's going to play. I think Miami does have enough to get it done. But Houston's just been like my team this year where I've kind of been like, hey, look, they're doing okay. I'm surprised by them, even though I was kind of like you said, if Ben Olsen did what he does, if it's a good Ben Olsen year, I said they'll be really good, right? Because we have this. So next year they might not, because that's kind of how it was at DC. They'd be like really good under Ben Olsen, and then the next year they'd suck, and then the next year they'd be good, and then the next year suck. And guess what? Ben Olsen, when they were a bad team, by the way, in 2013, I think it was, they still won the Open Cup as DC United. So he has familiarity with this competition. I think I don't know. I think like signs are pointing to Houston. And if not, we'll open up the show next week and say, Houston, you had a problem. And it was Miami. But I'm feeling pretty confident about that. And again, that game is at 8:30 on CBS Sports Network or Telemundo or Peacock and Paramount Plus. On Apple TV, and it's free. Philadelphia host FC Dallas at Subaru Park. At 9:30, Colorado hosts Vancouver. That's also free. Clock on MLS Season Plus. It's the Campeones Cup, LAFC versus Tigres. This is where the winner of Liga MX and the winner of MLS face off in a one-off kind of Super Cup-esque game, and that is taking place at BMO Stadium tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Even throughout this season, LAFC might be able to get a trophy. Then on Saturday, we have the Columbus Crew hosting the Philadelphia Union at 7:30. We have Miami and NYCFC. New England and hosting Charlotte. Red Bulls hosting Chicago. That game's free. Just if you want a bottom of the East matchup. Then you have Orlando hosting Montreal. Toronto hosting Cincinnati. That one's free. Houston hosting Dallas. Minnesota hosting San Jose. That one's free. That's a playoff-esque matchup, actually. Both those teams are kind of near that line. Nashville and Seattle at 8:30. St. Louis SKC in another Midwest battle. I don't know if they have a name for it yet. That is 8:30. That is free. Colorado hosting Austin. That is free. LA Galaxy hosting the Portland Timbers. That one's free. And Vancouver and DC United at that one's not free, sorry. LA, Portland you have to pay for. Vancouver and DC at 10:30. St. Louis SKC, that's free, like I said. Not only is it a matchup for the Midwest, it is also a really good opportunity for St. Louis at home to clinch the record and get in their 17th win. That's probably their easiest game left. And then you have LAFC on Sunday versus RSL. That's 8 o'clock. It's free. It's also on FS1. And then you also have the playoffs for MLS Next Pro. Tacoma Defiance and Houston Dynamo 2 at 10 o'clock on MLS. And then we next week we'll preview. We have a whole slate of games on the 4th, which is a Wednesday. We have a whole slate of games on the 7th. When's the last day? I have to double check this here. The last day, because then we have a
21st, isn't it?
I think you're right. I'm just verifying if we know. It might be the 21st. Yep, that's decision day. And we go into the playoffs. And if the playoffs started today, right now. Oh, you know what? Do I still have that up or did I accidentally close out of it? I had a whole chart that was like, if the playoffs started today. Oh, here we are. Okay. Remember, we have the best of 3 games, right? We have that whole round that has the best of 3. And right now, that would be, well, first you have the wild card, which right now would be San Jose and Dallas. The winner of that would go face St. Louis City in a best of 3 matchup. On the East, you would have Montreal and NYCFC. Whoever wins that goes up against Cincinnati as it currently stands in a best of 3. Orlando would have Nashville in a best of 3, while the Crew would have New England. And then Philadelphia would battle it out against Atlanta United in the best of 3 over in the East. Over in the West, you would have, like I said, St. Louis versus the wildcard winner. You'd have LAFC versus Whitecaps, Sounders, and Portland as it currently stands. We would have a nice, Pacific matchup there with the Cascadia. And if Vancouver happens to beat LA in this made-up scenario, the winner of Sounders and Portland would go and face each other for another Cascadia matchup. That would be pretty cool. We also have Houston and in the best of 3. From what I've heard too, is best of 3 will go right to penalties after a draw. No extra time. I actually quite like, if nothing else changes, this is some good matchups here.
Yeah, no, really good ones. Wild times in MLS playoffs, baby.
Yeah, I can't wait for it to start because we're kind of at that part of the season where it was getting a little like, can we hurry up to the playoffs? And now they're about to approach. Less than a month, and we're going to be covering playoffs here on the show and being able to talk about, hey, the best of 3 too. We're going to have tons of fun with that. Maybe it'll give us more games at least. All right, well, that about wraps us up. Thank you all for watching and listening along. We will catch you all next week, where we'll break down the winner of the Open Cup. So that means we'll be talking some Houston Dynamo. We're going to be previewing more clinch scenarios, hopefully, and looking at a whole bunch more fun stuff that's coming down the pipe here as we get closer and closer. I mean, the next time we have an episode, Logan, we will be 2.5 weeks out from the end of the season. We'll be in the month of October by the time we do another episode. It's happening all very quickly, but I am so thankful that it is coming so fast. That's what she said. All right, let's wrap it up.